The second stage in preparing for the TNA concerns how to prioritize the sectors. Of course, the TNA could work across many different sectors, and climate change technologies are relevant across pretty much all sectors. So, given the limited resources available, how do we prioritize the sectors? This is the first job of the TNA team. It can be done quickly, however it's very, very important, so it shouldn't be rushed. We normally recommend countries to refer to existing documents and analyses conducted in their countries where priority sectors, whether it's their exposure or contribution to climate change, are already identified. So that would be the starting point for understanding what are the priority sectors in any country. Even if that is the case, it can be useful exercise to sort of refresh the prioritization process, applying some basic criteria agreed upon by the TNA team. We normally recommend that, given the size of the project and the resources available, that the TNA project focuses on 2 or 3 well-defined sectors under both mitigation and adaptation. However, of course, the exact number of sectors should depend upon the split in resources. If it's a 50-50 split, then there should be equal number of sectors. Some countries, however, prefer to prioritize or rather emphasize adaptation or mitigation, and so the split in sectors should reflect that. If some basic criteria are applied to clarify these priorities for the TNA, some examples here in the table on the left from Lebanon, where for adaptation side technologies, they ask the questions: which sectors are most vulnerable to climate change, which have the highest or lowest adaptive capacity, which are those that are a national priority, and what is their socio-economic importance. Following a discussion and basic scoring of these 4 different criteria, they can come to a conclusion about what are the priority sectors. The third stage in preparing for the TNA refers to the draft work plan. The TNA project is very much a stepwise process, so having a logical draft work plan with specific timeline is a very important starting point and is the responsibility of the national coordinator at the beginning of the project. We provide a template for countries to work with, which includes specific activities and milestones, and this is something that should be agreed upon when the when the country agreement is signed between UNEP-DTU and the signing ministry. However, a final work plan is usually not agreed upon or not finalized rather until the national consultants are hired, and that would be one of their first substantive jobs. So on the topic of consultants, how do you select the consultants in the country? Well, this is a very important step, given, as we said, that most of the budget will actually go to paying for these national experts and consultants. We've developed a template for assessing consultants, and this is something that should be led by the national coordinator in consultation with UNEP-DTU partnership. Of course, the selection process should always take place in an open and transparent manner. And interviews can be held during the inception mission where UNEP-DTU staff are present and working with the national coordinator. And as I say, we have a template which applies some basic criteria to take into account consultants' experience, their qualifications, and availability. Consultants can be contracted directly by UNEP-DTU, where we make payments from Denmark, or they can be contracted by the signing ministry locally, where we pay the budget to the ministry and then they in turn pay the consultants. That is a decision for the national TNA team to make. The experts are hired to conduct the substantive analytical work that informs the TNA and TAP process. So taking into account their qualifications and their experience in similar projects is the most fundamental consideration. The other very important consideration, which should be in the forefront of the coordinator's mind, is communication. And clear lines of responsibility and communication should be in place. And again, this relates to the institutional structure. But in our experience, we recommend that there are 2 lead consultants. Assuming there's an adaptation team and a mitigation team, that there's 1 consultant hired to be responsible for each of those lines of work, and they can in turn hire other experts to conduct specific work. However, the reporting and responsibility is that of the lead consultant. And these consultants can come from companies or universities or research institutes based in the country. And they will work, as we said before, very closely with the national coordinator, reporting directly to him or her. The final step in the preparation is to understand how to engage stakeholders. We'll dedicate a short component in this e-learning course to understanding this process. But briefly, the aim is to not only to inform but also to legitimize the whole TNA process. And it is something that should be taken into consideration from the beginning in terms of who, when and how to involve stakeholders. And therefore it's very important to anticipate this and plan the process and not just make it up as you go along, which is sometimes the case. So that'll be the focus of the next component.